Hi everyone and welcome to this week's Monday Memo. Now I had the opportunity to go back to the classroom this week and complete some mental health in the workplace training. One of the things we learned was the 6 primary sources of stress at work, and stress is an area we've a lot of practical experience of in accounting and finance, whether it be a supplier demanding prompt payment, making sure staff get their wages, adding up some numbers on a trial balance, making month-end close deadlines, handling the politics of the annual budget cycle. We have a lot of stressors there and many more. So I thought I'd share this week what those sources are. I'd be interested to hear about if you recognise yourself in any one of them, and also share perhaps some ideas on how to overcome them so that you and your colleagues might benefit. So the first source is called demands. That could be due to your workload, patterns, environment that you find yourselves in the office. And our workloads could be quite peak and trough sometimes, or fairly relentless depending on the time of year. Also, control is another category, and that's really about how much say someone has in the way they do their work. So, some areas of finance are fairly compliance driven, so we don't really have much opportunity to adjust it. And I do remember still seeing, and actually earlier in my career, is many people thinking that they didn't have a choice at month end, having to work those late nights and make tough calls as to whether or not they could go pick their kid up or not. And that feeling a lack of control definitely caused some stress in them. And then also support is another category, feeling that they're encouraged, sponsored and helped. Anyone that sort of worked in business partner roles knows that it's very important that you get the sponsorship and support of the business. Otherwise, it becomes very stressful and there's a lot of friction between finance and other parts of the business. Another source of stress that gets overlooked is the role. Understanding how you fit in or how we fit into our roles, how we contribute to their broader picture. And this comes to me an awful lot from your messages, particularly around where leaders in finance who are fantastic when it looks at the technical side, but remember, some of us might not have got leadership training or manager training and maybe not know the importance of having that clarity around the role that someone does within the team and how it fits in with the broader organisation, and particularly so in these days where we're hearing stories about roles getting digitized, people potentially losing jobs. So again, another source of stress. And then that neatly fits into some of the change as a source of stress that I was just talking about, and how someone responds to change. And if you ever look at those sort of recent timelines, as much as finance and accounting has been around an awful long time, the rate of change is getting much sort of narrower or shorter in bursts. And we've just gone through so many various industrial revolutions in the last 100, 200 years, and it's a bit of a challenge to keep up sometimes. And then remember, before the robots replace all of us allegedly, we're still human beings, and another source of stress is relationships. I can imagine most of us have had colleagues that have maybe suffered a bereavement or a relationship breakup or breakdown, or we may be going through one ourselves. It can be very, very disruptive to our own ability to be our best at work and do our best work, as well as to those around us. So look, there are the 6 sources: demands, control, support, role, change, and relationship. And I suppose in terms of being able to overcome those ourselves or find a way through it, I always sort of take the view that, it's a bit like being in those sort of airplanes before they're taking off, and you get shown that training on, when they lose pressure in the cabin, these sort of oxygen masks drop down, and they always tell you to put yours on first before tending to kids and other passengers. Well, that's for a good reason. Sometimes you need to sort yourself out first before you can go and help others. So given that there's 6 categories there, perhaps maybe you start with maybe picking one of them and making commitment to do something about it. If you're struggling to maybe understand where you fit in with your role, maybe pick that category. Talk to others, figure out what they advise that you can do about it. Talk about it to your line manager. See if you can draft up a document of what you think it is, and maybe debate that and discuss that. If it's relationships, I didn't know this, but actually there's a lot of companies now providing assistance programs, and counselling isn't really that expensive to go access for anyone in accounting and finance. Seriously, it really isn't. And talking to folks around the benefits of counselling and what they found from it, or taken from it, well worth the money. So there are just a couple of examples. And once you've tended to yourself first, and you might maybe notice some others in your team, perhaps your close colleagues or whatever, going through these sources as well. Obviously approach these things with care, but if there's an opportunity to help someone with one of these primary sources of stress, then imagine that difference you can make to them, to that person. And that difference doesn't just extend to that person, it extends beyond that person, the other people that they interact with. So again, I know we focus a lot on the numbers and our own worlds within finance, but we can really make a difference to others as well. So look, hope that was useful insights. I know I took a lot from learning these sort of 6 sources of stress, and maybe they're the right levers to improve the situation. Or you might have come across others yourself, and again, we'd love to hear about them. So please comment with this post. And when it comes to stress, that is something we can definitely solve for, particularly if we come together. People are not alone in this. And that's why we bring on guest mentors to the Strengthen the Numbers show, to perhaps share some of the things that have worked for them, some of the things that haven't, some of the stresses that they've gone through and how they've dealt with them, so the rest of us can get a better path or some idea on how to deal with them ourselves. So look, really appreciate you investing your time with us today, and until next time, let's keep on building our strength in the numbers.